Hello, everyone. Welcome to the American Museum of Fly Fishing's Tackle Talk. My name is Jim Schottenham, curator here at the American Museum of Fly Fishing, and I have the great pleasure of once again sitting next to Scott Biron, who's one of our American Museum of Fly Fishing ambassadors, a member of the HMH Pro Staff member of Ewing Featherbirds. Thank you. Today we're going to be talking about, well, Scott's going to be doing 90% of the talking today about tips, tricks, tactics for using fly tools, tying tools. Scott employs a lot of these tactics when he's working with us doing the streamer webinars. We do get a lot of questions about the methods that Scott uses. Of course, when he's talking about a recipe for a fly while he's tying the fly, there are some things that he does and little tips and tricks that would otherwise go unnoticed. And I think that we talked about this a little bit earlier. This is going to be a webinar, a Tackle Talk webinar, that I can almost promise, even if you're an advanced fly tyer, you're going to learn something today. And for the folks that are with us that are new to fly tying, I think they're going to find just a tremendous amount of information today that's going to be very helpful. The benefit of having these webinars, of course, is that you're also going to be able to go back and watch these webinars. These, of course, are live right now, but they will be recorded. They are recorded, and you can go back and watch them anytime at the AMFF website. So as a matter of fact, Scott has been on Tackle Talk with us before with Jonathan Larrabee from HMH, and of course, the streamer tying series. So if you're not familiar with those, I strongly encourage you to go back to the website and take a look at those. So Scott, you actually were here this morning, probably using some of these tips and tactics when you were teaching the kids this morning for one of our kids' clinics.
Right. We had a great time. We had a whole bunch of kids here, and they actually tied a pretty tough fly and nice little emerger that they. I know a couple of them were on their way out to try to fish it today, so we'll hopefully get a good report back.
Sounds good. All right. Well, listen, there's an awful lot of things to get to today. There's a lot of tools, a lot of great tips. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Scott.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. It's always great to be here. And I don't really know how this is going to kind of play out because I've got a long list of things to go on, and I might go off on a tangent, and we might not get these all done, or we might just, crank right through them. But I wanted to give you some tips on actually tying, some tips on how I set my bench up and how I use different things that enhance the way I can tie. And I get asked these questions repeatedly, and I'm going to start with the simplest one. On the below my vise in front of me on the table is a right there, this little cardboard, what looks like a white piece of paper, but it's not. It is a piece of framing material, and on the front of it is felt. And I buy the felt in 8x10 sheets, and I cut them to the shape that I want them. And these particular felt pads allow me to put feathers on top of them, and not necessarily will they move if you get a breeze, if you're building a wing and you want a number of wings to line up together, you can do that on these felt pads. And they're excellent when I do a lot of the Atlantic salmon flies where you have to build wings and you need to lay them down and you need to keep the rights from the lefts. You don't want things rolling over on you. They stay pretty good. And the cool part about this is the first time you use this, it'll eventually get kind of a lot of material left on it, little bits and pieces. And this is almost ready to get changed out. And depending upon how much you tie, you can change it out. You don't want to vacuum it or brush it because it brings the nap up on the felt, and it kind of doesn't work as well. But what you can do is you just take the felt right off the picture frame backing, and you can lay another one on. The first time you take it off, it'll take a little picture frame backing with it, but after that, survival of the fittest. The fittest thing will be this backing. and you just can throw that away and put another one on. But these are really good. A lot of times, if I have somebody who's going to take lessons for a significant period of time, the first thing they get is one of these. So that's a real simple tip. It's a good thing to help you operate around your fly tying area. Some of us dump everything right in front of us, and some people are really line everything up. And I have things lined up, but that's usually not the way it is. So that the felt pad is very important. The other thing is how you store your tinsel, and in this particular little thing that I have here, it's a piece of wood with a bunch of small dowels, and the dowels allow you to just slide your most common materials on. But this is really kind of the key. The key is, what is that on the edge here? Okay, what do we have right here? You can see these are hair elastics that you can get easily at CVS, and you can use these ones that have the cotton on the outside, kind of synthetic material. It doesn't rip up the material that you're using, but it keeps them from just unrolling. I can't tell you how many times I dropped these on the floor, and if I didn't have one of these, I would be trying to either cut it off because it was damaged, or I would have to, roll it by hand and hope that I didn't damage it. So you can also do things like you can store your floss in little tubes like this. All the fly tying shops have these. Comes right off on top. This has thread in it, and you can put floss in it. You can put Flashaboo, you can put crystal flash, whatever you'd like on that in there. But this works really well. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that if you leave your floss out in an area where it gets a lot of light, a lot of sun, then that floss can get brittle. And thread and floss has a lifespan. So I like to keep it in things like that. I'll show you some other ways that I store materials and whatnot, but these are real handy and they don't roll. They're square on the top and they stay on the table. Anytime you can find stuff like that, that's key. And then you're not hunting around for everything. The next thing is hackle pliers. There are just so many different hackle pliers out there. You can start with something as simple as small as
let me change the view for
yeah,
everybody.
we'll give you a little better view. We can have something as small as this pair right here. This is an English hackle plier. You squeeze it, it opens up right like that in the middle, and it can hold your hackle. Simple way of putting it, can hold your material just like this. The thing is that years and years ago, the original ones looked like this. They had two rubber stoppers on the inside, and they were made by Thomson Vice Company, and a bunch of other companies came out. And over time, what happened was the rubber would break down. It would just disintegrate. This one actually has very little rubber on it. It's mostly metal. It's a newer one with just a little tiny bit of rubber on it. And oftentimes when you have metal on metal, the feather will slide right out when you start to put tension on it and wrap. So there were a couple companies that had some hackle pliers. These are the same ones as these right here. I give you a bigger pair to see it. But what they had was a rubber on one side, and the rubber on that one side helped to be more secure with whatever you were holding. Thing was, it broke down. And then I decided that I would take this little tube, it's hollow, slide it on. I cut one right here so I could show you.
Camera right there.
Slide it on just like this. And I've added this. Now, HMH Vice Company has a tube fly tubing that they use that fits right on this. You don't have to do the next step. The next step with this is to heat it. whether you heat it with a hair dryer, you heat it with run a match or a lighter under it, it shrinks right on top of it and it holds it. And just makes your hackle pliers a little more durable. And I've got a ton of hackle pliers here because I do a lot of things with hackle pliers. If here's mylar that I have, but if I had a little tiny piece of wire that I was using for a rib, a lot of times I just grab the end of that mylar or that wire and I put it on the hackle plier on my bench. That way, when I want to get at it, I can reach right down and I know where to find it. It's really, really easy to locate things like that. Sometimes I even do it with material. So I have a ton of hackle pliers, and you can have the plunger ones like this. These plunger ones are excellent. They have a little spring in them. They're very expensive. And if you were going to buy 4 or 5 of these, you're gonna find that you could buy.
Do you want to pop that down on that
Yeah,
screen so we can take a look at it?
Yeah. So there's one right there. And you can see how it opens up. There's a little jaw there.
Gotcha.
And it can hook it. But you could, if you wanted to blow your bank account, you could buy 5 or 6 of these. And for one of those, you could buy 2 dozen of these. So there's your supercharging hackle pliers. Where do you get the shrink tube? Well, you can get them at the hardware store. They're always black. But you can also get the tube fly ones. They're different colors and they're great. You can get them at the HMH website. It's really good.
For the tube fly, Scott, do they have different diameters of that tubing?
Yeah.
Different
Yeah.
tire sizes.
Yeah. And if somebody really wants to know exactly, they can reach out to us. You can get me the message, and I can give them
Okay.
the link on where to get it. But it'll save it. A lot of people throw away hackle pliers when they don't work anymore. You don't need to do that. All right. So this is something that whenever I teach a class, I get a lot of questions about and you'll see when I actually get to the point where I'm going to show you how I glue wings on streamer flies. I'm going to show you. Are we on this camera? Can we go to this
any camera you want?
We have a lot of cameras here, so Cecil B. DeMille would be very impressed with what we have. You can see the diameter on both of those bodkins are slightly different. This one right here, this silver one, it's a thicker diameter one, and it's a great bobbin. Works really well. But this one here, if you really look at it, it's actually a vise. And you can twist the head and remove the point.
Look at that.
And the point is actually a pin. And we refer to it as a pin vise. Let me put this back in. Or a needle. I steal the needles from my wife. She's not watching, so she's not gonna be out.
I won't tell her.
No. And the control on this when you're applying material, if you're using head cement, anything like that, the pin vices are really more accurate. If you're picking out dubbing, you want to use one of these, right? If you're trying to put a little head cement on a dry fly head, or you're manipulating some Atlantic salmon feathers for a wing and you don't want to really mess them up, you can get really in with these and work wonders. But this is critical when I put the wings together, when I glue my wings on my streamer flies. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But they're excellent. About once every year and a half or so, one of the pins breaks, no problem. Go steal another one from my wife, slide it in, I'm good to go. All right. There are fly shops that sell those, but they're worth the money. And they're not too expensive. So let's get something in the vise and play around. Let me find a hook. So we'll take a big hook here so you can see it. And we're gonna take these are reproductions of Alcock 2811 hooks.
Oh, that's a monster.
Yeah, this would be used for black salmon up in Canada. But it also, I tied a lot of my trolling flies this year on this fly. It's an excellent fly. It so what I wanted to show you was I wanted to give you a little bit of whip finish. 1, 2, 3 on the whip finish. This is you move up.
That's
You move up the fly tying chain when you learn to whip finish. Every class I teach, I can't tell you how many people, the first thing they come in and they want to know is how to whip finish. And it's can be a little frustrating at first, right? Because there's a lot of things that go on with whip finishing that can be confusing. But once you get it in, it's like riding a bicycle. You'll get it.
so let me stop you there. And again, for the tires that are with us that are new to this, what exactly does a whip finisher do? What's its purpose?
Yeah, so it puts a very, very, lack of technical term, secure knot on the head of the fly.
And that's to prevent the thread from unraveling.
Right, right. Or traditionally, we would use a half hitch tool. A lot of bodkins come with a half hitch tool on the back of it. You can see that tapered end right there. This is a particular half hitch tool with an open nozzle on it. It allows you to bring that nozzle right up to the hook. Let's go up to the
Device?
yep.
Yeah.
So it would allow you to bring it right up to the hook eye and slide the thread half hitch right onto the fly. And they're great. And they come with different diameters of nozzle, and that will allow you to address different hooks. But you have to do a number of them to really make them secure. A whip finish for a small dry fly, you could do a 2 or 3 turn whip finish and be done. You wouldn't have to do it again. The whip finish tools, there are a whole bunch of them. Matter of fact, I learned on a universal whip finish tool, and somebody brought me one of those to a class and asked me how to use it, and I looked at it for the longest time, and then I remembered how to use it. It was a very awkward way of using it. It was a long tool, and you had to kind of spin it around a certain way. But more modern day whip finishes are these Mattarelli style whip finishers, and they come in various sizes. And if you look at these spin. Okay, they rotate, and that's key when you're really enhances you when you're doing your whip finish, and you'll see in a minute. This one, for example, doesn't spin. It has a little bit of spin to it, but it doesn't have a ball. So sometimes it gets caught up and it doesn't twist as much. Yeah. And you can see where this one, see where it has the ball right there,
Yeah.
where it meets that has a really big key thing. So let me show you.
That's the device.
Back to the vise, and this is what I suggest to everybody who is trying to learn to whip finish, is that you get a bare hook just like this, you get your thread onto the hook, and then you just practice whip finishing. So when I teach it, what I tell the people to do is they're going to hold the ball. They're going to come up, take about 8 inches of thread off the bobbin. They're going to place the whip finisher right up this little hook. You can see that little tiny hook on the top, right where my finger is, right there. You grab the thread with that hook. Okay, you can see how I'm kind of pulling the thread away a little bit.
I've got an idea, Scott. Let me try this. One more. Let's see if I can't get right down into the action here.
Okay. How about this? Keep it right there.
Okay.
Let's try this. Let's try black thread because it might actually show up. Can you see that a little better? Maybe not.
Maybe.
See if I can get my little thing right there. So hit it with a hook. There's a notch that I let it slide in on the notch. And once I have it like that, I let go of the ball. And what happens with the thread, see if I can rotate it a little bit, is it forms a perfect triangle. And that triangle allows you to bring your tool up and go around the hook, and you'd be working on the head of your fly. And once you go around it 3 or 4 times, you remove the back off the notch, you slide your bobbin away and slide the thread right off that hook that you started on. And that forms a really great knot. And what I like to do is show it again. I always start my whip finish from the rear of the head, and I whip finish forward. And when I do that, it really tucks the thread in underneath, and it provides a really good solid knot. Now, let's talk about this a little bit, because there's a lot of cool things. We'll go back to the vise. There's a lot of cool things with this that you can do. All right. Now, this is Danville thread. And Danville thread, if you counterclockwise spin it, you open it up, you flatten this thread. And when I flatten the thread and whip finish, it puts a real smooth head on the fly. Makes it nice and smooth. You don't see all the thread lines from it being twisted, because when you're tying, every time you tie as a righty, you're putting another twist in the thread and you're making it smaller and smaller and smaller. This kind of opens it up, gives you a little bit of a smoother head, which eventually, when you seal it, it just helps it a little bit. So again, let me go over this one more time. Grab it with a hook, lay it in the notch, let go of the ball, and that rotates the whole unit. Now you can see that triangle. Trying to do the best. It's hard. Maybe you can see.
Maybe I can do that for you.
Yeah, you can see the triangle thread. It's real thin, but then I come up over it and bang. All right. And then you can just trim it off. And the cool part about this is, if you were tying a like really small dry fly and you were afraid that when you went to use your head cement, which we'll get to next, you could brush it on with a brush, but it would get all over the hackle. You could take your needle bodkin and you could just dab a little bit. I had a friend who used to just drag his bodkin over the top, away from him, so he could really see what he was doing, and it would just wick a little bit of that head cement in it. But you can also do this. You can wet your thread and then do your whip finish. And what it does is it sucks it right in. And that's a really good way of not having to bring your head cement, your bodkin. You know, we all have a little shake to our hands. And what we wouldn't want to do is by chance get into the wing and mess it up. The other thing is, I want to show you the difference. You saw that earlier on the screen, but there are different sizes of whip finishes. This one's a little bit different. If you hold them up, you can see the size difference. This one's a little longer, the gold one. And what that is it when I tie tandems, I'm able to whip finish the back hook very easily with the wire in place and everything, because this is longer and allows me to get in there and So a lot of people would, try to do a whip, some type of half hitch or something like that to try to get that back hook. This is a really good way of doing it. Now, that's how you kind of practice. You got to work at it. What I really like to suggest to beginner tires that they get a hook and just keep working on the front and get a razor blade and keep slicing it off. Do 6 or 7 whip finishes, slice them off, 6 or 7. There are people who do whip finishing by hand. For kind of interesting thing that I've often found is that there are a lot of people who whip finish by hand, they can't use the tool. And then I use the tool all the time. I never use the hand. So, it's what you get to kind of in your muscle memory, and it'll work for you. So those are the way to kind of work your skills and learn a little bit more on whip finishing. And I always tell people get a long one, get a short one, and you'll be fine. And they're not very expensive. So whip finishing, it's kind of like a badge. You get a badge after you can whip finish, and you move up the food chain.
You send the patch out?
Yeah, I send a badge.
Okay.
All right, so let's kind of go along a little bit here. I get asked this all the time because I use an awful lot of Fly-tyers wax. And we should have done the golden pheasant crests first. We're getting there. There's a lot of different fly-tying wax.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, we're not done yet. Okay.
Oh,
Fly-tying wax is much different than dubbing wax. It's not close to the same thing. You need to make sure that when you're purchasing fly-tying wax, that you're actually getting fly-tying wax. There are recipes online, and a lot of people will try to make their own fly-tying wax. If you're married, I don't advise it. It smells, it makes a mess, and it usually creates a lot of problems at home. So buy it. It's cheaper. And it's also, you can buy different hardness of fly-tying wax. There's usually, hard, medium, and soft. The soft is really beneficial in the winter when it's cold, right? The hard works really well in the summer. The medium works both ways. If you looked at some of the original Fly-tyers that tied by hand, a lot of them would hold the fly-tying wax in their hand for a little while and it would start to melt, or they would blow on it just a little bit to soften it just a little bit. So when they put that fly-tying wax on their thread.
Ready for a vice view?
Yeah, we're going to do vice view.
Okay.
Sorry, jumping around.
No, that's fine. There we go.
All right. So when they would put a little bit on their thread, just like this. And what they would do is when they put it on their thread, they melted it onto the thread. And then when you wrap, you're melting the wax again onto the material and the thread, and it helps to hold it in place. Now, when I mount wings for my streamer flies, I always use wax. And like I said, there's different varieties of it. I like the medium. Here's a little bit of black cobbler's wax. The black cobbler's wax is great, but if you're not using black thread, it's going to change the color of everything. So it's good for certain things, but it's not, it's not the be all end all. And the stuff works good. Like this little piece that I have here, someone made it for me a long time ago. Atlantic salmon fly tire. I've had it for years. You don't use much.
Scott, let me ask you a quick question. So you want to use the black wax and the black thread, because if you use the others, it's going to discolor that black thread.
Right.
Conversely, would you want to use the other color waxes on black thread, and would that change the appearance?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
The only thing that I will share with you is that sometimes the wax makes when you're sealing your head on your fly, it takes a little bit more to penetrate. Okay. But it still will. It won't delaminate. It works just fine. Your fly tying shops will carry these. And if you're never used wax before, Fly-tyers wax, go after a little medium wax. When we do wings, go back and look at some of the streamer flies that we tied. You'll see we use wings. I have so many people that take fly tying classes in the winter from me. They're learning to mount their wings. And when I bring out the wax and they try it for the first time, it's an aha moment. They're like, wow, what a difference. And I tell them that's the key to mounting the wings. But it works just as well with a lot of them. If you're having trouble with a material getting into a certain spot, fitting a certain way, laying down a certain way, you certainly can use the wax to help that. Okay, so we've been staring at this golden pheasant crest for a while here. All right, and
we ready to focus?
Yeah, we're going to focus in on these 4 pieces right here. So I shaped these pieces a little while ago, not too long ago. When you get a golden pheasant crest, and I dyed this one lime green because I have this new fly pattern that has that in it. It's a killer. And when you get golden pheasant heads or crests, for the most part, we used to get them just like this. And they used to come from overseas in 50-gallon drums, just like this, all jammed in. And they would all be like not really in great shape when they came. They steam these a little bit, and then they put them in a bag and send them out. But they never really have great shape to them. And if you look at these that I just laid down there, you can see how they kind of curve a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so if you were trying to put this on your hook and have it lay right on top of your hook, like this one right here, and stay right there because we're going to bring this right down because this is a perfect view. If my hook was right there and I wanted to lay a golden pheasant crest on the top, or I wanted to lay a golden pheasant crest on the bottom and tie it in.
Nice shape. Look at that.
Yeah, look at the shape, right? And you can change the shape a little bit. You can actually make it run longer if you want it to run long and drop down along the hook bend. You can, I did this particular one right here so that it would sit as a tail for an Atlantic salmon fly. But if you look at this one, it doesn't kick up quite as much.
Right.
All right. So when you get these, right, they're all kind of messed up. So what I do is I have this little Hannaford's cottage cheese are getting a little publicity today. I use a little small container that has some water in it. And what I do is, you can see, I put them in there, and we're going to leave them in there for a few minutes. All right. We're going to talk about another little thing. I usually use warm water, and this is kind of not warm anymore because we've been yakking away. But what I wanted to do was show you how I shape them. I use one of these types of.
That one?
Yeah, let's hold that up. I'll show you a couple. I have a couple of different types of tweezers. I really like these tweezers here because the inside of these tweezers is smooth. All right. They're not serrated. These are really good tweezers too. These are machinist tweezers and they work really well. But when I'm shaping my golden pheasant crest, I'm really looking at this piece right here at the top, not the business end, the holding end. And I'll show you why. So you need something like this because it really helps when you do it. And no matter what length you have of a,
You ready to go back?
yep. No matter what length you have of a golden pheasant crest right there, or what color, you can take and shape it. And when I shape them, what happens is they go in this, and this is a good little promotion for the baseball guys that are going to be here at the festival, because these are baseball card holders.
Ah,
All right. And you can see how these are all shaped, and these are long ones. And really, I've worked on, I get these. I mean, look at the size, the
Wow.
difference, okay? But those are never straight when you get them. And a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter because when you get them wet, they're going to get straight, which is true. But it can really affect how the rest of the materials sit on the fly, because usually this is not on the top, all right? And I have all these boxes. I don't smoke, but these are cigar boxes. And I put them in by, of course, so many of these. I have different sizes, okay? And these different sizes, they hold. It's the next size down, a bunch of really small ones that I like to use for tails. And then I have the box, this is the colored ones. So we got red, we got orange, and believe it or not, the red and the green, I dyed myself. So I get the exact color. All right. Now, one more thing before we actually take what we have been soaking and straighten. Let's jump on to, we want to put this on a hook, right? So we're going to take, I'm going to get real close so you can see this. We're going to take a little bit of the garbage off the bottom, and we're going to end up with this really funky looking white stem. You can see that kind of, it's perfect, shining right in there. These stems are not flat. They're kind of triangular a little bit. They're weird. I always say that the better the coloring of the bird is, the harder the material is to work with. This is beautiful, right? So it would, of course, be hard. Before I put this on the fly, what I do is I reach in, and I have a pair of needle nose pliers, and you can see the inside of those pliers are flat. And I just squeeze that where the tie-in point is going to be and flatten that stem just a little bit. I usually squeeze it twice. Now, when that lays on top of the round hook, like my finger was, let's take this back, put it right there. When it lays right on top, it's not going to behave. Yeah. It's not going to behave because I need it in the vise. This is why I don't tie in hand. But when it lays on top, it'll set right in place. Okay. And it doesn't really weaken anything when you do that. All right. So we'll stay there, because what we're going to do, and I'm going to actually pull one of these out. This is one of the ones that was, I'm going to do this upside down. Okay. Now, if you look at this, it's laying on its side a little bit, but the water tension, I'm doing it upside down, you got to bear with me. The water tension is holding its shape. So if I want to change the shape of this, so you can see, if I want to make this one more curved, I just play with it a little bit. See how the water tension holds.
Yeah, and does it matter what material?
Yeah, it does. That's key. That's coming at the end, because that's a big part, right? But what happens is that water tension will hold it in place, and then it'll eventually dry. I always I'll pull all the crests off of the head, stick them in and let them soak for a little bit. And then I will shape them. And usually I can do that in between periods of a hockey game. And it's about a good, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, get them all shaped, put it aside, and in a matter of like an hour or so, it's dry. Don't be thinking you can stick it by the heat source and get it to dry. It won't work as well. Let it dry on its own. But what it will do is it'll completely dry. There'll be no water on that, and you'll be able to put it up and put it in the baseball.
And it'll hold its.
It'll hold its shape 99% of the time. Every once in a while, they go out of shape. You're doing something, you don't put them back right. So you have to be aware of that. But the key is, like you just said, what is the board? So the board I call my shaping board. And it basically what it is about an 1/8 inch of plexiglass. And that plexiglass is what holds it on. All right. And you can, find out where to get those at the hardware store. How are we doing for time?
Doing okay.
Okay, we're gonna move along here and go a little faster. All right, so let's talk a little about painting eyes. Let's go to the vise.
Let's get a place view for that.
Let's go to the vise.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at a couple flies here that have the eyes painted, right? You can see the second one down, the Canapache, the top one has an eye, the fourth one down, Pumpkinhead has an eye, and they're all different colors. The second one down has a white with a red pupil. The top one has a yellow with a black pupil, and the fourth one, the Pumpkinhead, has a white with an orange or black pupil. You can use either one, but you got to really get the eyepiece down, and it's not hard, but it's not simple. And there are a couple different ways to do it. I was an athletic trainer when I first started, and I learned how to. The doctors taught us how to suture, and we learned a lot of really cool things by suturing back in the day. And what we did when we sutured was we had to use both our hands to control any little shake that we might have when we cut sutures with our thread. And it's the same thing that goes when you're doing your eye. So what I have, like I said, I was an athletic trainer, so I love these cotton tip applicators. Remember when you go and get a throat culture, this is what they jam up your nose and down your throat. And these are great because they're about the diameter of what I want the eye to look like. Take a look. Take a look at that. I already did that one. See it right there, that little white dot. All right. That little, no, hold it right there. I'll bring it right up. See that little white dot right there? That's a work of art. I'm just gonna tell you. And that white dot is the result of just dipping a little bit of paint on the end of this cotton tip applicator. So the way I do it is I open it up and I'm using an enamel paint. And all I do is I just try to touch the very end of the applicator to the paint. I rotate the eye towards me and I come in and see how I'm using my second hand. My finger is taking all the shake out and I just barely touch it. And look at that, baby.
This is a good endorsement for using a rotary vise too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yes. It works perfect with a rotary vise. If you don't, like if you made me do this on a vise that, like that one you had me tie that fly last tackle talk we did.
Oh,
Yeah, right. And what you can do is you can use something as simple as this, all right? Just this little, remember these material clips, electronic component clip? Used to be able to get them when Radio Shack was around. Now you have to get them on eBay or whatever. So you can, while that's drying, you just stick it in there and let it dry, okay? but it takes about, I'd say 10 minutes to dry. Can't remember which one we did.
That's the one you just did.
Okay, so now I want to put the black pupil in. So I get my black paint, and what I got now is I've got a couple wooden cute, what do we call these? Toothpicks, yeah. And I just cut off the very tip so it's not pointed. I dull it. It's very small. That's the size of what I want the pupil to be. And I just rinse and repeat. It's the same thing. I'm just using a little bit smaller.
And I would imagine, depending on the size of the fly, dictates how big you want the iris, how big you want the pupil.
Correct.
And you can cut that toothpick.
Yep.
Maybe up to the midpoint if you need something a little larger, right?
Exactly. And some people like using drill bits. The back of the drill bit. Okay. And you just keep a couple drill bits around. I don't like using these because they used to make them and they were rounded. You don't find them rounded anymore. They're kind of flat. So it gives it kind of weird edge. But these clean real well. So don't the wooden ones. If you get a little paint on the bottom, you just flick it off. It's fine. And while I got it here, why don't I show it, right? So these things are invaluable, right? HMH makes these. They hold magnet. They can hold your hooks. They can hold beads, but they can hold little things that you don't want to get off with you. I have a whole area where I keep these sticks, so I know where I'm going for everything. And it's good if you have something set up like that. Might as well kind of show you. I mean, this is unbelievable. The eye on this is to die for. Look at the pupil, centered, everything.
Nice.
Once it dries, that whole unit dries, then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take I'm going to take a little bit of the head cement and I'm going to coat on the outside. It makes it a little more pure. But that's the way I do my eyes. You can use enamel paint. You can use, there's some fly tying paints that are made that you can use as well. I just go to the craft store and I have all different colors that I use. Some of the flies call for some specialty colors and I'm able to use those. So it really works out really well. And I suggest that, if you're learning to paint eyes, that's the way you do it. Let's go to head. So I just want to talk about head cement because we might not get to everything. So this is my bottles of head cement, and everyone gets all pumped up about this because I go into a big discussion of these. These are reusable bottles. I buy them. They're Boston. Jim's got a Boston bottle in his hand. That's what they're called. They come just like a nail polish bottle, and they have a brush in the bottom. I take the brush, I put the brush on the bench, I take a razor blade, and I spin the brush around. I want to take off 2/3 of the synthetic brush fibers because the smaller it is, the easier it is to work with. It's much, much more controlled. And you can, some people have bottles that actually have a bodkin built into them, but I find these work really well. And what I have here is my head cement is about 40% in here and the rest of it's solvent. And in this one, it's closer to 70 to 80% of head cement and the rest of it's solvent. These are the first couple of coats. Suck right in, all the way into the thread, really lock stuff in. If I was putting a golden pheasant crest on, did a couple wraps, I would stop, put a little bit of head cement on. Same thing with bucktail. I just put a little dab of head cement. It dries really quickly, but it makes it really durable. And if you watch any of the fly tying videos that I've done, you'll hear me say, take a little hit of head cement and put it on. I use the thin stuff for that. Like I said, the first 2 coats usually are thin. And then I can build up to the thick. And the thick usually is another couple coats. You got to just allow it to dry. It takes a little longer for the head cement to dry when it's thicker. Now, here's the thing. You can buy head cement all over the place. It's becoming harder and harder to find. There are European head cements. There are resins that people use, UV resins. I'm allergic to the UV resin. It doesn't work for me. I look like I've been bit by 100 mosquitoes. This is Minwax brushing lacquer.
Minwax brushing lacquer. Okay.
Thinned with the solvent for the lacquer. And I have a couple quarts of it, and I have solvent for it. And I have, when you buy the bottles, they give you a little funnel, and it's real easy to load these up.
So again, don't forget, if you're following along and you want to go back to these, this webinar will be available on the AMFF website, so we can go back and review it again at any time.
Okay, how are we doing for time?
Good. Okay. One thing I wanted to talk about, and I think everybody has this question or this problem per se. When do you know when to keep extra materials? What's useful to save? What's not useful? What just should just go away and stop cluttering up your desk?
Great question. Let's switch to the other camera. I brought this specially for that. Look at that. Okay. That's a bunch of odds and ends right in there.
Looks like you could make something out of that.
Oh, yeah. Truth be told,
Look at that.
I have 4 of them on my fly tie table. And 3 times a year, I go through them and throw out what I haven't used. But here's the key thing, right? I want some purple hen. There's a lot of usable purple hen on this. I want a throat, a red hen throat. There's enough red hen throat for 3-4 flies on this, right? There's all sorts of stuff. I want a little golden pheasant tippet. There's a perfect one right there. I want Amherst tippet. There's a perfect one there. There's all sorts of different colors and stuff in here. Mallard, everything you would want. Little piece of jungle cock. Let's save that. We're going to fix that in a minute. I'll show you how to fix that. But those all are, I keep little bits of them. And like I said, 2 or 3 times a year, I go through it and throw out stuff that I'm not going to use. But you don't want to keep every little piece because you'll never use them all. I also have one of these that has all the small pieces of mylar in it, right? I need a 2-turn tag. I need a small rib of oval silver or oval gold mylar for a rib on top of a fly. Not a problem. I've got a piece that big. It'll make 8 ribs. That's all I needed for that particular fly. There's you have different diameters of, here's a perfect example. Different diameters of why do I want to look at that? Different diameters of mylar. There's 10 wide, 12, another 12, 14, and 16. They taper down. On the other side, we have different diameters of silver and gold oval. We have embossed, stamped, the metal stamp tinsel. And I have one that's just filled with those. So if I just want a little piece, like 2 or 3 turn, I can reach in and grab it, right? I never throw that stuff out. So that's really good.
So it sounds like, as long as there's something that you feel is usable, putting it in a basket instead of just kind of sweeping everything off into the trash bin.
And chucking it, right?
It sounds like it's worthwhile, except when you're stripping off from the tail. When you're tying up your streamers, there's really not much use.
No, when you take a here it is right here. So you take here's a streamer feather right here, okay? And no, where are we? Oh, we're in that one. Okay.
There you go.
Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. Okay, here's one right here. Let's look at that, right? If I wanted to size this stuff right here that I just ripped off to get that nice.
Get that white end there.
Yeah.
Not much use in saving.
No, chop that out, right? use it for that, remember that Percy novice fly we tied in the last video? We use for the throat, we used mixed red and yellow. Matter of fact, they're probably in here. Pieces like that because we needed the hen. We didn't need the hen. We needed the rooster for that particular fly. So, it works, but it's also not bad to throw it away. What I see with a lot of young tires is they chuck a lot of good material, right? They just don't. Okay, yeah. Where I save it. A lot of classes, I pick up the bins of trash and I pull out stuff that, we can use this in next class, right?
Well, I've watched you, even when it comes to hackle, I've watched you kind of sort through some necks and pick out what you feel is either the appropriate length, width, the right size, the right
Right.
shape, the right feather. But it doesn't mean the rest of the neck is useless.
No, right. So you want to jump to that? Let's go. Let's take a neck right here, right? This first streamer. This is the 9-3 green that everyone is dying to know about. But this is the color, and we have one of Emil Letourneau's flies here, and that's the exact color.
That is a neat color.
It is. It's really good.
Let's put that on the other camera because the color is really good.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to see. It's pretty vibrant. Oh yeah, there it is. That's it right there. Okay. And when you're picking the meat of first streamer is right in here. See where my fingers are right there going in there. That's where the best feathers are right there. All right. And when I pull feathers, I pull one from one side, bird's dead, so you can. And then I would take one from the opposite side, and they should be pretty close to the same, right? Like that. So when you put them together, they oppose each other and they go straight. Okay. Take one away and see how it curves.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's going to affect the way it swims in the water.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And like sometimes you'll get so you can see it crossed over. People for the longest time would take their hooks when their streamer was trolling and it was not going right. They would bend their hook one way, and if it trolled right, they were like, great. If it didn't, they bend it the other way a little bit, and we'd fix it. But every feather in here is good. I might, for a smaller hook, I might take some feathers from down here for a casting streamer. If I was tying a tandem, I'm going to go up higher because I want a longer one. And all these feathers are different. Here's a grizzly, right? And the stems on grizzlies often are a little thicker than on the white that was dyed a different color. So you have to be aware of that a little bit. And there's all different shades. This is a really good looking grizzly. It's got great coloring. Let's see, right like that. See? And so if I wanted to take one here, since we're doing this, we'll do one together. So we take the other side. It's okay. We can glue them either way. All right, so if I was to take some garbage off this, and I want to glue it, I trim it, size the other one up, and I'm going fast.
And you want them equal length, obviously.
Yep, about equal length. Sometimes the fly pattern will call for like the outer one to be slightly shorter, but the pattern will say that.
And you're using your bodkin to separate the feathers right where you're going to strip.
This is really key because you can get right in there very accurately. And then what I use, and I've used a bunch of different things, but I'm back with this particular stuff. This is Fabric Fusion, all right? And Fabric Fusion you can get online. You can get it at Joann's, Michael's. Joann's out of business. Michael's, whatever. This is really good. This is 0.66 fluid ounces. Don't get anything bigger than that. Right? And don't try to squeeze it out of the top. Take the top off. And I'm gonna take the needle, get a little bit of the fabric fusion on top. And then what I'm going to do is just drag down, and I'll show you real quickly.
Slide that so folks can
There's
see.
just a small little bead. It's going to be hard to see.
Yeah, let's try the other. Let's try the close-up camera here.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
There's a little tiny bead, right? And I got to talk quick because it's starting to set up because it's warm out. Then you would lay your grizzly right on top, just like this, and just press them together.
Now, question for you. Earlier on, you used your needle nose pliers to flatten that stem. Would that help flatten if they were both flat?
No, it would weaken it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use that. But here it is, and then I would slide it right on top of my felt, and it's held in position, nice and straight, right like that. Now, let me just show you with the hook. If this was the stem right here, where I want to put the fabric fusion, I'm just going to take my bodkin, and as I'm drawing it along the stem, I'm turning my bodkin in my fingers, and I'm laying a nice smooth bead on the stem, trying not to get it to wick into the actual feather. And in a matter of about 30 seconds, that is sealed together and it is one.
That's why you're not using head cement, you're using that fabric seam.
Yeah, now that you could use head cement. Some people use Dave's Flux cement, okay, and it works real good if its consistency is thick. Some people will use the head cement and let it sit out and thicken, but it does have a little bit more tendency to wick into the feather, okay? So that's how I glue them. That's how I pick them. While we have the Dave's Flux cement out here, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at that. See that jungle cock? Split right in the middle. Now, I might want to use this. Let me see if I can actually fix this. It's a pretty big split, and it's been sitting in that little thing for a while. So I take a little of this Dave's, okay, and I'm looking at the back side of this feather. Take a tiny little drop, put it down by the base, turn it over, and just slowly drag my finger. You can see it's starting to heal already. And it's setting up. And as it sets up, if the crack's not too big, and this one had 3 cracks, and we've already got 2 taken care of. The third one that's about gonna fix it right there.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, a lot of times you buy a jungle cock cape and it just is not, it's not got every single piece that is 100%. A good picture one right here.
Go back to that.
Okay.
One.
And you can see as you get up towards the top up in here, these are all split. Take it out. It's a lot easier to see than the plastic. You can see where they're all split up there, see? But down in the bottom, they're not. I don't think these guys like each other in the pen, and they beat each other up with a razor, so that they tend to be split. So they do cost a little bit extra money, so it's worth trying to fix them. Now, some people will fix them with, will use dubbing wax on the back of it, which is fine, but this is waterproof. And in fact, you'll see when I actually build a streamer that has when I put the jungle cock on the streamer like this, see that? See that right there? When I actually put that in place, I put some of that fabric fusion on the back and stick it because it really makes it
That'll
adhere.
hold.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you're spending that kind of. Okay. What are we doing? How are we doing?
I don't think we got time for maybe one more
Okay,
for
let's
this,
do
for this
one more.
episode.
Let's do one more. We'll do one more. Let's do the peacock herl one. All right, because it's a simple one. It's really easy. When you buy peacock herl, a lot of times, if you're tying streamers or if you're doing bodies on nymphs, you can buy them in a bag. And what happens is the bird is in the pen, it molts, the feathers fall off, they vacuum them up, they wash them, they clean them, they dry them, and then they sew them together. And you get all these little pieces like this. But one of the things about that is that the tips on the ends of them are often broken. They're not tapered. And in a lot of flies, Atlantic salmon patterns and streamer flies, you want them to be tapered. And so a lot of times when you get them, you can look at this one in particular. You can see this one right here. It looks like it's a crooked road. It's got a lot of like, right up against.
Let's go.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, you can see how that's bent right there. It's got like a 45 and a 45 going the other way.
Sure.
Take a kettle, boil it, and stick that right on over the steam, and it'll be straight. Right?
You don't need to manipulate.
No, touch anything, right? And it's dry by the time you pull it away. So a lot of like fly shops, when they get their peacock herl, they actually have a steamer that they steam them so they look good. But that's, you can steam any feather, right? The next time we'll talk a little bit about waterfowl feathers and steaming them and drying them and dyeing them and everything like that. The only feathers you can't really steam well are like these crests. That's why we shape them. But anything you could steam these right here and get them straight. Sometimes in the bag, you traveling, they shift a little bit, and they, the birds, they hit things, they hit trees, they hit different stuff, and their feathers get moved around a little bit, and they get them wet, and they're back to normal. And so the steaming piece is really big. So
awesome. Well, Scott, it's been incredible today. You covered a lot of ground. It's a darn good thing that this is available on the web. You can go back and re-listen and rewatch. Hopefully you've picked up something today. I know I certainly did. I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too. And again, if you're enjoying these webinars, we certainly encourage you to help support them by becoming a member of the museum. If you're not already, the benefits are terrific. Yeah, the journal alone is worth the membership, but it also supports programs like this. Scott, once again, thank you so much for coming out today. Thanks for coming today and teaching the kids how to tie. It's been wonderful. We'll do this again. So please join us at www.amff.org. You can find us under the film section. Look at the webinars and have a look at some of the ones from the past.
We'll do one in August, right?
Yeah. So the next streamer tying is coming up on August 9th. It'll be a Saturday. We're going to be doing that one live from the annual Fly Fishing Festival right here in Manchester. So with that, thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good day.